Very good morning. You're watching Today in Parliament with me, Aishwarya Kapoor. Let us start the bulletin with the headlines. Rajya Sabha to convene at 9 a.m. and Lok Sabha at 3 p.m. from today. Two bills, including the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, Second Amendment Bill 2020, to be introduced in the upper house. House to also take up Aircraft Amendment Bill 2020 for further consideration. Rajya Sabha to take up the Ayurveda Teaching and Research Institute Bill 2020, Central Council Amendment Bill 2020 also listed in today's business. Union Ayush Minister Shripad Yesso Naik to move both bills for consideration. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh scheduled to make a statement in Lok Sabha about the developments on our border in Ladakh. Three bills, including Member of Parliament Pay Allowance and Pension Amendment Bill 2020, included in the day's business. Reports of Parliamentary Panel on Labour to be tabled in both houses. First, a look at the legislative business in the upper house of Parliament today. The Allied and Healthcare Professionals Bill 2018 is listed for withdrawal. The bill, which seeks to regulate and standardize the education and practice of allied and healthcare professionals, will be moved by Union Minister Dr. Harshvardhan. The Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, Second Amendment Bill 2020, is also listed for introduction by Union Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. The bill amends the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. The National Commission for Allied and Healthcare Professions Bill 2020 will be moved for introduction by Union Minister Harshvardhan. The bill provides for regulation of standards of education and services by allied and healthcare professionals and creation of a system to improve access, research and adoption of latest scientific advancement. The Aircraft Amendment Bill 2020 is listed in the day's agenda for consideration and passing. The bill amends the Aircraft Act 1934 as passed by Lok Sabha and will be moved by Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri. Ayush Minister Shripad Yesso Naik will move the Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda Bill 2020 for consideration and passing. The bill aims to provide for the establishment of an Ayurveda Research Institute for the promotion of education, research and training in Ayurveda. And Naik will also move the Homeopathy Central Council Amendment Bill 2020 for consideration and passing. The bill amends the Homeopathy Central Council Act 1973. All right, let's cut across to Kriti Mishra, our colleague who is joining us live from the National Capital. A very good morning, Kriti. Kriti, yesterday on the first day of the monsoon session of Parliament, we saw it was a busy day for both houses. In the Rajya Sabha, a very crucial election for the post of Deputy Chairman was held. And today also we are looking at the day's agenda, and there are a lot of bills that are listed. And of course, the Rajya Sabha is going to resume at 9 a.m. today. How do you look at the day panning out in the Rajya Sabha today? All right, we'll try to connect back with our reporter Kriti Mishra. Now, let's first take a look at the legislative business in the Lok Sabha. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi is going to move the Salary Allowances and Pension of Members of Parliament Amendment Bill 2020 for passing. Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution Minister Ram Vilas Paswan will move the Essential Commodities Amendment Bill 2020. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will move the Banking Regulation Amendment Bill 2020 for consideration and passing. All right, Kriti Mishra is in fact with us at the moment. Kriti, good morning. As earlier I was asking you about today's agenda in Rajya Sabha, we are looking at a number of key bills. Of course, yesterday it was a busy day in both houses on the first day of the monsoon session of Parliament. So how do you look at today's agenda in the Rajya Sabha?
Well, Aishwarya, there's a heavy legislative agenda as far as the upper house of parliament is concerned for today. Now, several important bills were introduced yesterday also. And talking about important bills that will be taken up for consideration and passage, that includes a very important bill, which is the Aircraft Amendment Bill. Remember, International Civil Aviation Organization, when it conducted an audit in the year 2012 and 2015 also, it had underscored the need for enhancing the powers of the regulators, including the DGCA, the BCAS and Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau. So this bill gives more powers to these regulators in order to enhance safety and security of India's civil aviation space, and also other important bills like the bill for the Teaching Institute and Research of Ayurveda that would also be taken up. And another important bill that would be taken up to replace the ordinance is the Homeopathy Central Council Amendment Bill. Remember, the government had promulgated an ordinance on April 24th in order to increase the suppression period of the Central Council of Homeopathy from 2 years to 3 years. So this important bill would be taken up today for consideration and passage along with the statutory resolutions moved by the members of the upper house. So important day as far as the upper house is concerned. Over to you, Aishwarya.
Right, Kriti. And speaking about Lok Sabha, of course, we saw yesterday a lot of bills were introduced in Lok Sabha, and a number of key issues were also raised during a 0 hour, including the the drug menace in Bollywood and NEET exam, and important issues were raised yesterday in the Lok Sabha yesterday. And today also, yesterday we saw 2 bills were passed. How do you look at the day progressing in the Lok Sabha in the afternoon today?
Well, absolutely, Aishwarya. As the monsoon session of Parliament commenced yesterday in the Lok Sabha, it was a highly productive day with 8 bills getting introduced and also 2 bills getting passed by the lower house. And talking about today's agenda, important bills are listed for consideration and passage in the Lok Sabha as well. These includes the Salary Allowances and Pension Amendment Bill of Members of Parliament, as well as the Essential Commodities Amendment Bill and also the Banking Regulation Amendment Bill. So heavy legislative agenda in the lower house as well. Aishwarya?
And in the Lok Sabha, Kriti, a very important statement is going to be issued by the Defence Minister. Of course, this is going to be the first time that a statement is going to be issued by the government over the problem that we are having at the LAC as far as Chinese incursions are concerned. So this statement by the Defence Minister is also going to be very important.
Well, absolutely, Aishwarya. So, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will make a statement in the lower house first on the situation on our borders in Ladakh. Remember, the opposition had been underscoring the need to discuss this issue. So, this assumes paramount importance. And also the fact that Defence Minister had earlier met his Chinese counterpart, and also our External Affairs Minister, Mr. S. Jaishankar, had also met his counterpart in China in Moscow. So very important developments there, and also the fact that India has been underscoring the need for China to refrain from changing unilaterally the status quo, and also the fact that it has underscored the need for complete disengagement from the Chinese side. So a very important statement there that would come from Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, and it is expected that once lower house resumes today at around 3 p.m, he is expected to make the statement. So all eyes on that. Aishwarya?
Right, Kriti, thank you so much for all those updates on today's agenda in Parliament. And now let's look at some other business in the Rajya Sabha. Now, several ministers are going to lay papers. Union Minister Anurag Singh Thakur will lay on the table papers for the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will lay on the table a statement explaining the circumstances which had necessitated immediate legislation by the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Amendment Ordinance 2020. Members Prasanna Acharya, Vandana Chavan and Ram Kumar Verma will present a report of the Committee on Petitions for Development of Capacity to make real-time forecasting of floods. Secretary General Desh Deepak Verma will lay on the table reports of the department-related Parliamentary Standing Committee on Labour. Union Minister Anurag Thakur will make a statement regarding the status of implementation of recommendations in the Standing Committee report on finance on demands for grants for the year 2019-2020. Union Minister Smriti Irani will move a motion for the election of a member from the House to the National Jute Board. Union Minister Harshvardhan will move a motion for the election of a member from the House to the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And Union Minister Amit Shah is slated to move a motion for the election of a member from the House to the Committee on Official Language. And in other legislative business, in the lower house of Parliament, several ministers are expected to lay papers on the table. Let's take a look at some of them. Giriraj Singh for the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy. Mansukh Mandavia for the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. Arjun Ram Meghwal for the Ministry of Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises. Danve Rao Sahab Dada Rao for the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. G. Kishan Reddy for the Ministry of Home Affairs. Parshottam Rupala for the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Sadhvi Niranjan Jyoti for the Ministry of Rural Development. Anurag Singh Thakur for the Ministry of Finance. Nityanand Rai for the Ministry of Home Affairs. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will make a statement regarding the status of implementation of the recommendations contained in the first report of the Standing Committee on Finance on Demands for Grants 2019-20 pertaining to the Departments of the Economic Affairs, Expenditure, Financial Services and the Department of Investment and Public Asset Management and the Ministry of Finance. Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar will also make statements regarding the status of implementation of the observations contained in the third report of the Standing Committee on Agriculture on Demands for Grants 2019-20 pertaining to the Department of Agricultural Research and Education, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. And with that, we wrap up with this edition of Today in Parliament. Stay tuned to Rajya Sabha TV. Coming up ahead is Sansad Mein Aaj.